Hello, welcome back to class, and we'll be discussing cyber threats, attacks, and vulnerability today. And this encapsulates classification of cyber threats, malware types and characteristics, phishing and social engineering attack, insider threats, denial of services attack, web application attack, vulnerabilities and exploits, and lastly, cyber attack life cycle. This module will actually explore the core adversarial elements of cybersecurity, examining the threats, attack, and vulnerability that undermine the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of digital system, and having an understanding of how cyber attack are conceived, executed, and exploited is very important for effective cyber security practices. Let's quickly look at the threat landscape. Cyber threat, we classify cyber threat and also analyze common attacks method like malware, the phishing, and social engineering, insider threats, denial of service attack, and web application exploit. And attackers leverage system weakness, human behaviors, and misconfiguration to be able to gain unauthorized access or disrupt the operation. And the exploration of the vulnerability and exploits will actually give insight into why no system is entirely secure and how weakness can be systematically identified and abused. And that is what we'll quickly look at. Let's quickly go into classification of cyber threats. Classification of cyber threats. Cyber threat exploits vulnerabilities in system, network, or human behavior to be able to compromise digital assets. And classifying these threats helps professionals to be able to understand their nature, origin, and potential impact for effective defense strategy. And we have the various threats explained in terms of technical threats, human threats, and environmental threats. For technical threats, it actually arises from weakness in software, hardware, or network infrastructure, exploiting coding errors or misconfiguration, and this can be software vulnerability, network vulnerability, or hardware attack. For human threat, it's actually an action by individual, intentional or unintentional, that compromises cybersecurity, including insider threats and negligence. And these include insider threats, social engineering, and negligence or human error. And the last is environmental threats, and this is a non-malicious factor affecting digital assets, security, and availability, such as natural disaster, power failure, and the likes of hardware degradation. Let's look at the malware, and it's actually a malicious software infiltration, damages, or disruption system without users' consent. It's a malicious software which infiltrates, damage, or disrupts system without user consent. And it's a primary tool for attackers targeting individuals, organizations, and critical infrastructure. And the types include virus, which is attached to the file and require user interaction to spread, corrupt data, and slow system. Another is the worm, which is self-replicating, spread automatically across network, consumes bandwidth, and disrupts performance. The next is Trojan horse, and for this it disguises as legitimate software, creates backdoor, steals information, or download more malware. We also have the ransomware, and this deals with an encrypted data demanding payment for release, causing disruption and financial loss. And we also have another type, which is the spyware, and this deals with secretly monitoring of user activities, collecting information from them like keystrokes and credentials. And lastly, we have the botnets, and this is a network of compromised device controlled by attackers for coordinated malicious actions like DDoS. Moving to phishing and social engineering, these attacks exploit human behavior, trust, or lack of awareness to be able to gain unauthorized access to system, sensitive information, or financial assets. And when we talk about phishing attack, attackers impersonate legitimate entities to be able to trick victims into revealing sensitive information. And this include email phishing, that is fraudulent email mimicking trusted organization. We also have the spear phishing, which is highly targeted attack on specific individuals. And we have the whaling also. It targets high-profile executives. And lastly is dismissing, which is a text message designed to be able to deceive recipients. We also have the um, social engineering, and it's manipulating human psychology to be able to influence individuals to perform actions or divulge confidential information. And it includes pretexting, which is fabricated scenario to obtain information. There is also what is called baiting, and this is enticing offer to lure victims into malicious action. Another is tailgating, which is physically following unauthorized personnel. And lastly is impersonation, which is pretending to be a trusted individual. For the insider threat, it actually occur when individuals with authorized access intentionally or unintentionally compromise an organization's security, and their legitimate access and knowledge makes detection particularly challenging. And we have the likes of the types to be the malicious insider, negligent insider, and we also have the compromised insider. And when we talk about malicious insiders, they intentionally exploit access to steal information, sabotage system, and also commit fraud. And for negligent insiders, they unintentionally cause breaches due to carelessness and lack of awareness or protocol failure. And for compromised insider, um, a legitimate account hijacked by external attackers using insider privilege for data exfiltration. And mitigation strategies include role-based access control, regular employee training, system monitoring, and fostering of a culture of accountability. Looking at the denial of service, the denial of service attack disrupts availability by overwhelming system or exploiting vulnerabilities, preventing legitimate users from access. Distributed denial of services, which is the DDoS attack, leverage multiple compromised devices like botnet for a more powerful coordinated assault. And looking at the DOS attack, it's actually executed from a single machine, flooding the target with traffic or triggering system error. And it includes flood attack, crash attack, and ping of death. And for the DDoS, distributed denial of service, it leverages on botnet to launch a coordinated attack, making it harder to mitigate. And it includes volumetry attack, a protocol attack, and application layer attacks. For web application attack, it's actually a frequent target due to their uh, internet exposure, and attackers exploit software vulnerability, misconfiguration, or design flaw to be able to gain unauthorized access, manipulate data, and also disrupt services. And this can be seen in the SQL injection. And this is attackers incite malicious SQL statements to manipulate these databases, allowing unauthorized data access or modification. We also have the cross-site scripting, which is an injection of malicious scripting to web pages, stealing sessions, cookies, and or redirecting users to phishing sites. And another is the cross-site request forgery, and it tricks authenticated users into performing unintended actions like transferring funds. And the last one is remote code execution, and this allows attackers to be able to run arbitrary code on the server, often leading to full system compromise. Looking at vulnerability and exploits, a vulnerability is a weakness in a system that can be exploited by compromised information, and it exploits and exploits are tools or techniques that leverage this vulnerability to be able to execute um, cyber attacks. And we have the types of vulnerability: the software vulnerability, hardware vulnerability, network vulnerability, human vulnerability. And we have the common exploits to be remote code execution, SQL injection exploits, privilege escalation exploits, and zero-day exploits. Let us quickly look at the cyber attack life cycle. And the cyber attack life cycle or kill chain outlines the stages on attackers follow. The stages that an attacker follows to be able to compromise a system. And understanding this framework is very important for proactive detection and mitigation. And the first is reconnaissance, and this is gathering intelligence about the target. The next is the weaponization, which is creating a payload to be able to exploit vulnerability. The next is delivery, which is delivering the payload to the target. The next is exploitation, that is executing the payload to gain access. Next is installation phase, which is establishing persistence on the system. And the next phase is command and control, which is establishing remote control over the system. And the last one is action on objective, which is achieving intended malicious goal. And this framework aids in identifying attacks, indicators, supporting proactive defense, and also designing layered security measures. In conclusion, we've been able to examine digital threats by classifying technical, human, and environmental vulnerabilities, and it details how malware, web attack, and DDoS disruptions compromise system, while highlighting that human-centered exploits like social engineering often bypass technical defenses. And by understanding the cyber attack life cycle, you've been able to gain the analytical foundation necessary to move from threat awareness to proactive defense and incidents response.